Well, right now I am a youth community leader, mentor, and inspirational speaker. My job and what I do is go out and I inspire kids to better their lives. I try and save kids from the streets, the dangerous streets of where I come from. So I go out and I mentor a lot of those kids, and I get involved with community civic things that go on in our community, so I can help make our community a better place to live in. And I'm one of those people that want to know everything about my city. I was born and raised here in St. Pete, Florida, so I want to know everything about it, and I'm the type of person that gets involved in everything. So when there's something going on, I'm probably in the know of it. And my background, a little bit of where I come from, is Southside St. Pete. Grew up in their area, just living for myself, living for the world. And I was 16 years old when I dropped out of high school, and I took to the streets, found mentors that wasn't good for me, and everything went downhill from there.
Tell me a little bit about that. And today you spent the whole day going to public schools and talking to the youth. What was your message today to the young people?
My message was to never say never. When I was coming up and I knew I had something that was deeper inside of me, dreams that I wanted to accomplish, things that I wanted to see be done in my community, things that I wanted to see change in my community. Those were dreams and goals of mine. And I had people that would come up to me, and when I would try to get in, knock on doors and get those doors open for me, they would look at me and say, that can never be done. That can never happen. It's not possible. Maybe you ought to join this, or maybe you ought to join that. Maybe you ought to seek school for doing that. Well, my message today to the youth was, when they say that, you tell them, never say never. Because I was told that it can never happen. And I looked at them and I said to them, never say never. When you say something is impossible, I take that word impossible and I break it up. I take the first two letters, I am, and I just say, I'm possible.
Marques, why did you drop out of school?
I dropped out because I wasn't really good at school. I wasn't getting any good grades. I dropped out in the 9th grade. I wasn't getting any good grades. I was the class fool. I wouldn't say class clown. I don't think I was too funny. I was more of the class fool. And there was times where I just didn't pay attention in class. I didn't pay attention at all. Didn't pay attention in. Only subject I really liked was writing, because I'm a writer. And that was my language arts was my best subject. And I took that subject and ran with it. I was writing. I learned to write out things, write out my thoughts. I dropped out of school because I just wasn't good enough. I told myself that I'm not good enough, and school is not for me. And I saw all my other friends who were dropped out before me. When I saw what they were doing, I wanted to do it and be a part of it.
What were they doing?
Well, my friends at the age of 16 were all selling drugs, and they were making money. I saw it. They had the latest shoes. They had the latest clothes. They had the latest jewelry. And when I saw my friends all living in that life, and I was going to school trying to get grades, I was like, I want what they have. I want what they got. That was my eyes was focused on that. And so I went to my friends and I said, hey, help me out. What are y'all doing that I need to do? What are you guys doing that I want to do to get those shoes? And they started to show me, this is what we're doing. Show me a handful of crack cocaine. And I said, okay, where do I get it from? And they said, well, buy it, get you some money, and we'll take you to the man who sells it. So I got money together, bought some drugs, got out there on the street corners, day and night, hanging out there on the corners, selling drugs with my friends. And that was part of the reason why I dropped out of school.
And let me ask you a question. Where did that lead you?
Well, everything that comes with the drug lifestyle, the drugs, selling drugs lifestyle, things that's going to come with that is gangs, alcohol, smoking drugs, gun violence, and just police chases, everything you could think of.
What turned your life around?
What turned my life around? The first turning point in my life came when I was both turning points happened at the same age, because they were only 4 months apart. But the first turning point came to me when I was riding along in my car one day, and my friend, he was a friend of mine who came down from Chicago. He had no friends, and so I made friends with him. And he got hooked on the drugs we were selling. Now, in this age of my life, that's taboo. in the black community. You don't become a young crackhead at 21, 22 years old. Well, he was a young crackhead at that age, and what happened was my friend, that guy, I still kept him as a friend when everybody else shunned him off. It was like, we don't want no part of him. He saw me driving in my car one day in the neighborhood. I was sitting at a stop sign inside my car. He jumped inside my car. I thought nothing of it until I hit the gas to take off, and next thing you know, I felt the gun on my head.
Well, where were you on your way to? You told me you were...
What was happening was, in that moment, when my friend jumped in my car, I was putting on a new piece I was working on my car. I put a new piece on my car, and when I got done putting a new piece on my car, it was under the hood. I was test driving it out to see if it worked, and that's when my friend saw me and jumped in my car. But what happened before he got in the car was I had received a phone call. The phone call was from my girlfriend's mother, and my girlfriend, me and her had a daughter together. She was 4 years old, and my girlfriend was pregnant with my second child. And my girlfriend's mother was on the phone with me because my girlfriend was fully pregnant, 9 months. When I answered the phone, it was my girlfriend's mother who said, "Marcus, get to the hospital." And I said, "Why?" She said, "Because Cinda just went into labor." And I hung up the phone with her. Before I hung up the phone with her, I said, "Okay, I'll get there," taking my sweet time, my precious time. Like, I'll get there when I can, because in that drug life, the money drives you. In that life, you don't care about much but yourself. In that life, you didn't care. I love my daughter and I was there for her, but you don't care about much. You care about yourself. So when she gave me the phone call and said, "Get to the hospital," was I in any rush? No, I wasn't. I was working on my car. I wanted to try out the new piece, and I did. Right after that, my friend jumped in the car. That's when he stuck the gun in my head to rob me. Got everything he wanted out of my pockets, all my money. I had drugs on me at the time. He took my drugs from me, and next thing you know, he did something I didn't think he was going to do when he pulled the trigger. Now, when the gun's at my head and he pulled the trigger, I heard the gun jam, and my head should have been on the windshield or on my driver's side window. When I heard the gun jam, and I looked over at him, and he looked over at me, and he jumped out of my car and ran, because we were at a stop. And when he jumped out of my car and ran, I never saw him again. But that was supposed to be my turning point in my life. I ran, I took my car, gassed it all the way to the hospital. Get to the hospital, I'm in the hospital thanking and begging God for my life, saying, "Thank you, thank you, thank you, God, for my life. Thank you for sparing me. If that's my wake-up call to get out of this lifestyle, guess what, God? You got me. I'm done. I'm not going back." Well, get to the hospital, see the birth of my son. I leave the hospital. Guess what I do? Like a drunk person who says, they hungover, "I'll never drink again." What do they do the next night? They go back and drink again. Well, what did I do? Went back and bought a new pack of drugs, got out there on the street corner, started selling it again. 4 months removed from that incident, it was Christmas Day. Let's just go right there. It was 2006. 2006 Christmas Day. My daughter was 4 again, and my son now is 4 months old. And I get to my girlfriend, it's Christmas Day, so obviously I do the right thing as a dad, and I spend Christmas with my children. Now, remind you, my girlfriend couldn't live with me on the south side of town where I was at, because my house was a drug house, and it was dangerous for my kids, and it was dangerous for my girlfriend. So I told them to go stay with their mother. Their mother stayed on the north side of town, my girlfriend. So she went and lived with her mother. And in that moment, I'm over there with them, opening up gifts. We're having the most joyous time. We're having fun, doing what I'm supposed to do as a dad, watching my kids open up gifts. And it was about 9 o'clock at night. I tell my girlfriend, "Hey, I got to go back to the hood. The money's calling me." Literally, it was calling my phone. So I said, "The money's calling me. I got to go back to the hood." So, "Okay, well, thanks for hanging and spending time with your kids." Kiss my kids goodbye. Get back to the hood. Stick my key inside the door. And my phone rings. And when my phone rings, I'm sitting there listening to this. and I see the caller ID, and I look at it and I say, it's my girlfriend. What does she want? I just left from over there 15 minutes ago. So what's happening? So I answered the phone, and the worst sound you can ever imagine was the sound I was hearing in the phone. I heard screams. I heard yells. I've heard sirens. And I knew immediately, my heart sunk in my stomach, something was wrong. And my girlfriend is panting on the phone, huffing and puffing. And I'm like, what's going on? Please tell me. She's huffing and puffing, barely can speak. And I'm like, tell me what's happening. Please tell me what's going on. And she yells out to me through the phone, barely, Marques, get back over here. The house is on fire. And I said in that moment, okay. This time I sprung into action. Get back in my car, rush back over there. Here I am, approaching this house I just left 15 minutes ago, and I'm watching this house engulfed in a big ball of fire. And I say to myself, how did this happen so fast? And I see firemen everywhere. I see neighbors outside of their homes. I see my girlfriend's mother crying. And I'm looking at this house, and my girlfriend rushes me, and she grabs me, and she says, I say to my girl, where's the kids? Where's my daughter? Where's my son? And she tells me my daughter is over there where her mom was. She said, my mom has my daughter. She says, my mom has Kiana. She has her. So I said, okay, well, where's Marques? You know, desperately, where's Marques? Where's Marques? So I said, where's Marques? And she said, he's still inside the house. And I look at the house that was engulfed in flames, and I rush the front door of the house. Standing there were firemen, because they knew my son was in there. And so I approached the house with these firemen standing guard. And I'm like, please, sir, get out the way, or I'm going to move you out the way. And these guys are 6'5", 300 pounds. And I'm like 140, 5'7". No way in heck was I moving these guys out of the way. I mean, these brick houses. And I say, let me into this house, please. Please let me in, because my son is inside dying, and I can't live my life without trying to save my son's life. Because in that moment, I was realizing that I had nothing to live for. Because the way I was living, I should have been dead. With my friend, when he put a gun to my head, I should have been dead. So I realized that my life meant nothing. And I said, I don't have nothing to give. I should have been dead. Well, let me die trying to go in and save my son's life. And the firemen wouldn't move. They wouldn't let me in. So I'm saying, please, sir, please. I'm begging now. And I'm screaming and I'm crying with these guys. Please let me in. Please let me in. And they saying no. And the reason they wouldn't let me in was because the fire chief gave them no orders not to let anyone in, because the roof had collapsed. Again, here's the house. I'm watching, engulfed in flames. So quick, I didn't know how it happened. And so they tell me, no, you can't go in there, saying they're sorry. They can't save my son. Right by the front door, on the right of the front door, was my son's bedroom window. I can almost hear my son screaming. I can almost hear his cries, breaking down, and I hit my knees and I cry out to God. And I said, God, why? God, why? Why my son? Why couldn't I go in and save my son's life? And God said back to me, because Marques, it was your son's mission to save your life. You see, in that moment, I realized I had something to live for. Not only that, I realized somebody knew me. Somebody cared for me. Somebody loved me. And I accepted the death of my son. In 2006, let me tell you, I never looked back to that lifestyle. Not one time have I ever thought about going back to selling drugs. Have I ever thought about going back getting involved with the gangs? Have I ever thought about going back smoking marijuana, doing drinking my life away? I thought nothing about it. I said, you know what, God, thank you for saving my life. I love you. I'm done. It was like flipping on a light switch. The biggest challenge for our young people today is role models. Role models. Role models. Because even on TV, people who are claiming to be role models, football players, basketball players, sports icons, okay, that's well. But they need role models who can come back and and immediately impact their life. So they need mentors. The biggest challenge for them they're facing is finding the proper people who will pour and give into them. Just pour into them and give into them and just say, hey, I come from where you come from. I know your struggle. And it's so relatable with me because they know me. A lot of the kids in St. Pete, this is why I'm dedicated to my community. A lot of people know me. So when they see my transformation, they know everything about who I am, who I represent, what I stand for is true.
You have any poems that you can recite now?
I do. I do a poem. And the poem I want to recite is basically about the coming together of people. We exist here in this world. We have to coexist with each other. So the poem I want to recite is the poem I call Exist. And it goes like this. Who am I to make a difference in the world of nonsense with no content as I contemplate on how I can create change in a place and time that keeps us at a long range distance? So our time spent together has limits. Wouldn't you say that the gimmicks and gadgets that we hold keeps us stagnant, leaving a hole to be filled that keeps us as a whole feeling empty? How are you feeling today? Because my feelings are quite simply filled with holes and gaps that can't be closed and tacked together unless our backs are tethered, living by the code of the military, never to leave a man behind. And our friends are soldiers we carry away from terror. They are never steps you climb, so don't break the backs of another man's spine trying to increase your incline, because the faster you do rise, the faster you will fall into oblivion. Living in your own world, not giving a care about those who gave all and all that gave and paved the way so you can sit here today and say, when you will graduate. And right now is not the time to procrastinate, so don't exaggerate to other classmates that you made straight A's and they're struggling with C's. To better serve yourself, help that friend exceed, and they will see that they have a friend in need. Indeed, the world would be a better place if we all ran at a better pace and speed. So, if you're being called to lead, then lead and leave this place in a better shape in the way that you see fit. Because I'll be the first to admit that we all want to quit on the exercise of our dreams when they seem a little bit too big and extreme to fit. So the message in this poem today is, create a world of your own existence. But don't forget this. We all need each other to exist.
And
yes.
What do we have in the works?
We're going to, actually, me and Haiti's going to do some debating with the youth, bringing the youth together. I love to engage the youth. There's a different way of settling our differences. Multiple ways. It doesn't have to always be fighting. We don't have to fight. We don't have to out people's dirty laundry on social media. We can use other forms, better forms, educating forms. And when you do other educating forms, it educates not only the people around you, but it helps to educate the person bringing the message. Why? Because you have to go into depth with knowing what you're talking about. So what me and Haiti is going to be doing is bringing the youth together, starting a debate team. And we're going to challenge these kids to use their minds, educate each other through topics of discussion that may lead to heated discussions, but one that leads to educating the mind.
So with that, let me share something with you. Martin Luther King said, every man must decide whether he will walk in the light of creative altruisms or the darkness of destructive selfishness. This is the judgment. Life's most persistent question is, what are you doing for others? And you know, that's where I start my piece off at, because life has a very funny way of speaking to us all. What are you giving to help lead our community? You see, Martin Luther King was a man who was not concerned with monetary riches. Martin Luther King was a man who was not concerned about popular status. He was a man who was not concerned about name recognition. Martin Luther King was a man, matter of fact, they say Martin Luther King had what they call a poor man's campaign. A campaign that he thought it'd be more important to give his time, his gifts, his earnings, his money, everything from his writing and his speeches to forward the dream of the civil rights movement. What am I saying? Martin Luther King gave to the community to see the dream, and he wasn't concerned about riches. But here we are in 2015, still celebrating his rich legacy.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wrong. Words absolutely hurt. What you say to somebody can hurt them. What you say to somebody can drive them crazy. Explain to you guys who I am. I grew up on the south side streets of St. Petersburg, Florida. Now over there on the south side streets, there's a lot of guns, there's a lot of drugs, there's a lot of alcohol, there's a lot of violence that goes on. You remember me? You look like you remember me. So you knew. You knew that. I see a few new faces. Just to kind of refresh about who I was. Some of y'all was here last time I shared my story. I was one of y'all. I was sitting where y'all at right now. But the thing is, I go to my room and there was a locked door. You get what I'm saying? There was no coming in and out, coming and going when I please. There was the time you had to go to bed, there was the time you had to wake up, there was the time you get fed, there was the time you go to sleep, there was the time you had to do everything. The time you get to go out and play. See, when I returned to my bedroom, it was to a locked cell at your age.
I became what I would like to call a problem causing. I was a pain in my mother's side. I was the oldest boy, and I had to make my own friends, and my sisters didn't understand me. My mother didn't understand me. I was put back from the 2nd grade to the 1st grade, got to the 8th grade and failed that. I took summer classes to make up that just to get to the 9th grade. I lived my life as a juvenile in and out of detention centers because I was causing a lot of problems. My mother once took me down to the court and told the judge she couldn't handle dealing with me, and the judge didn't know what to do with me, so the judge said, all we can do is detain him.